Hello, and welcome to Female Leaders on Fire Live. And I'm super excited to be here. Do let me know if you can see me. We've had a couple of technical issues this morning. So, yeah, it'd be great to know if you can actually see me or not. Drop me a message and let me know that you can hear me or that you can see me. So, I am Nicola Buckley and I help female leaders in the corporate world. I help them to find their fires, that passion, that purpose, that excitement. To fall back in love with what they do without sacrificing family time, compromising who they are, neglecting what they actually need. I'm just not sure this is working still. It'd be great to know if you could just, can't see it. Yes, I am live. Excellent. Right, let's plow on then. So, and I help women who are in senior leadership positions. I help them to refine that fires, that passion, that purpose, that excitement, so that they can have more impact, more influence, and more income as a result. And they can be a real force for good in the corporate world. Oh, Debbie's, yeah, she's confirming that I'm on, and also a LinkedIn user. Yay, exciting. Right, it's just because I'm told that there's no viewers, so I will look at that instead. Thank you, Debbie, thank you, LinkedIn user, whoever that is. So I'm super excited here today because we've got the first episode of Female Leaders on Fire Live. So I'm going to be coming to you on a Monday with just me chatting to you about relevant subjects, and I'll be asking you what you want me to talk about. And on a Wednesday, I'm going to be coming to you with a guest, and we're going to talk about that same subject together, because I like to chat and I like to chat to people, and I'm an extrovert and I really get energy from other people. So on a Monday, just with me, and then on a Wednesday with a guest. And all of this is leading up to the launch of my podcast, Female Leaders on Fire, which is going to be launching in the next couple of weeks, which I'm super excited about. So I'm going to be talking a lot more about issues for female leaders or women that feel like they can be leaders and they have the potential, but maybe they're not quite there yet. And just really the unique challenges that are faced and the unique insights that they have and things that really are holding them back. Because I think there's two parts to this. It's really on the part of the women. It's very much about empowering you so that you know the brilliance and the boldness that you have within inside you. So you really own your potential and you're living up to it. Even on days when you're having a wobble, even on a day your boss is being an idiot, even on a day you don't feel listened to, really owning that and standing proudly and tall behind who you are. So you have that much more impact in the organization, you have much more influence. So opportunities start to come to you so that your voice is really respected, and so that you can really be a force for good in that organization. So I think that's part one. Part two is then really making a cultural shift within organizations. So I work with corporates directly as well. So I create leadership and female programs to really, again, just make that shift internally. So, for example, male bosses are aware of their subconscious bias, so that we really have a way of creating diversity and parity and inclusion across all genders, across all races. So at the heart of it, there's those two big kind of pillars, if you like. And the first one being very much with the women themselves and helping you to feel like you're breaking free of that, just giving more and working harder to be seen and to be heard and appreciated, which actually does the opposite, which I'll talk about another time. And then also the cultural shift and change that is needed. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here. So subjects that will cover things like confidence, imposter syndrome, what to do when your boss is just being an idiot, what to do when you're in a toxic culture, imposter syndrome, things like if you're going to a big meeting, how to have the impact that you want, communication, how to lead teams remotely, how to get that promotion, how to have a conversation about getting a pay rise. So some really tangible right here, right now tips. And I'm super excited to be here. I think I applied for LinkedIn 5 times before I actually got it. So I think it was probably just to kind of shut me up, to stop me applying. So yeah, so I'm super excited to be here. I've had a couple of technical hitches, but let's crack on for now. If just anything resonates with you, I would just love to know what you think. Just drop it in the comments. And if there's anything you would like me to cover, just really to help women to really be more evident at those really senior levels of an organization, and to know that they're an incredible role model for other women that are looking up to them and inspiring them. So what do you believe? I just did a poll this morning, but I would love to know, what do you think are the, oh, there we go. What do you think are the female leaders' superpowers? What do you actually think they are? So if you just pop it in comments, or I've just seen that it's Jenny Moore who's also commenting. So thank you, Jenny. What do you think the inherent qualities are, those really powerful qualities that women have? What do you think? Now, it'd be great to know what you think. Just pop it in the comments. So I'm going to get started. So I've got 5 that I'm going to chat through just quickly and give some examples where relevant. But the first one is empathy and compassion. So women naturally have it within them to have just that really empathetic nature, where they just see different perspectives, and they can also feel the feelings. They can kind of read a room when they go into it. They can just have that real sense of knowing the emotions and being able to read the emotions. And that real emotional intelligence of things that maybe aren't being said, or things that are going on, that it's just that emotional understanding. And when they feel it, it also means that they can also support a fix to it, which is why women are so brilliant in maybe the more HR positions, because they have that empathy, they have that compassion. And that empathy and compassion for the women that are, for the employees that work for women, it just means that they just feel that they're very supported. It means that they feel really understood, they feel listened to. And really at a board level, that compassion is really important, just to balance out when there's that real focus on profits and revenue. There's also needs to be a sense of just really just bringing your employees on that journey with you. So it's incredibly powerful to have that empathy and to have that compassion and that emotional intelligence to really feel into what's going on, and then support how that's fixed and how that's brought into conversations and change as needed. So if you think of the pandemic for the last year, I've worked with a lot of female leaders to support them over last year, and it's been really difficult because they're leading teams remotely, because some of them are leading teams where they haven't met their teams. If they're new into a role, they might not have met some people that they've employed into those teams. And also for some of those female leaders, they are actually have been through when lockdown was really, really tight, they have been the only point of contact for some of their team as well. So they step into a different role rather than just being their leader. They become the point of support for those people as well. So just through the pandemic, we've just seen the impact of female leaders more than ever. If you look at someone like Jacinda Ardern, who's the Kiwi Prime Minister, and just how she's led with that strong back but soft heart, and just standing proud and tall in who she is, and knowing that actually that compassion, that empathy and vulnerability is just incredibly, incredibly powerful. So that's number 1. And I would love to know what you think. But I know for me, just in corporate world, just that empathetic side, I just got a real sense of what people were thinking and what people were feeling. So when I was running multi-million-pound launches, which I did, that was at the heart of my corporate career. I worked in marketing and I ran huge launches for household names. It was really about making sure, having that sense of what was going on in the team, so I could step in and support those that needed more, and I could kind of step back from those who didn't need it as much. And that more empathetic style of leadership meant that I could really adapt to being there for the people who needed me most. And it also meant that I could support the team with where they needed just to push through and really get past a roadblock, or where we needed to take some time to kind of regroup and get some more energy. So that empathy and the compassion is absolutely huge. Just making sure that this is still running. Yep, we're all good. Excellent. Number 2 is intuition. So women have this very much this inner sense of intuition, that sense of I just know what's right. And also through the women that I work with have built up experience over just years and years of just knowing. They become absolute subject matter experts. They know their stuff inside out and back to front. And with that comes this sense of intuition and just knowing what is right. And that might not always be backed up by data, might not always be backed up by the stats and everything, just that real cold, hard evidence, but just that intuition and that sense of knowing. So just taking action on that as well, and being able to trust themselves more and more. And if they share that intuition, share the next step, share what they think is the right path, and people see that actually they are right, that it does lead to positive change, it does lead to where they need to be, it does mean that they meet objectives, it just means that intuition becomes more and more respected. Their voice becomes more and more listened to and respected. So that real sense of intuition, and I know what is right based on this brilliant level of expertise. And along with that goes a willingness to learn, and a willingness almost to be wrong and to be proved wrong, because in learning is how we grow and how we become more. So it's not that style of leadership where if you're wrong, you're a bad leader. It's that style of leadership that is intuitively led to get to the objectives based on that vast experience and that knowledge and that understanding, but also that willingness to learn and grow. So Brené Brown would describe this almost as armored leadership versus daring leadership. So daring leadership is almost that willingness to be wrong, that willingness to learn from your mistakes, that willingness to grow. Think of it as almost that growth mindset. Whereas that the armored leadership is I say and you do as I say. So you're not really having that level of, you're not leading with intuition, you're leading just with cold hard facts and data, and also just telling your team what to do, rather than that intuitively involving people and that empathy of just having those feelings. So number 3 is vulnerability and sensitivity. And this is something I could probably talk about all day, probably have a separate podcast episode just on this. But that vulnerability is just about showing the days that you're having a bit of a wobble, showing the days where it's not going all perfectly and according to plan, and then owning the days that you're just flying and everything's coming together, and leading with that vulnerability and that sensitivity leads into being that empath and being very emotionally intelligent. But that vulnerability just means people connect to you. You care about people, and that is that really powerful leadership model that is about care and connection at the heart of it. You actually give a damn what happens to your employee. You actually care that they're happy and that they're developing and they're learning and they're growing. It's not just something that you have to tick the list of to be good at your job. It's something that you genuinely care about. So it means that you form these really tight communities around you that are very loyal and that will go the extra mile for you when you need them. But it's all led with that vulnerability at the heart of it and that sensitivity. So if you haven't heard much about this before, what I would suggest you go and watch is the Brené Brown vulnerability TEDx talk, which is just the power of vulnerability, which is just that when you're vulnerable, you have that instant connection to people. When you're vulnerable, people get you, they understand you. When you're vulnerable, it's showing that, it's role modeling that it's okay not to always feel like you have to be 100% in and going at 100 miles an hour. And you're role modeling the fact that it's okay to have those moments that you're wobbling. So that vulnerability is incredibly powerful. And again, if I think about clients that I've worked with just recently, there was one client that had a new CEO come in. She's the HR director, and she had this new CEO coming in. He was just like this whirlwind of a man, and he was just wanting to make a lot of changes. And she just really lent into vulnerability and just shared with him that she was feeling like it was just almost moving too fast and too quickly. And could they just slow things down so that she could bring in all the plans that she created and made, and they could start implementing things rather than just next thing. And that led to a better working relationship. It led to her being so much happier in her day-to-day rather than feeling like she was always behind. So that vulnerability and sensitivity. Number 4 is that inner purpose and that resilience. So I describe resilience, I think it's something that's used in the corporate world a lot, but I describe resilience as almost the ability to bounce back. So when you've had times and days where things have just not gone well and you've got knocked down 4 times, you get up 5. And that resilience is really based on that sense of inner purpose. And I see this in all the women, all the incredible female leaders I work with, that sense of, I have a bigger purpose. I'm here to make a difference. I want to leave the world a better place. I want to create a legacy. I want to know that I've been in a business and I've made a really great impact and I've left it better than when I joined. And that sense of inner purpose. And that is what I help my clients to find, is almost that inner, that purpose, that passion, and find their inner fire, because that gives that resilience on weeks when things haven't gone well. If you think about the lockdown again and the year that we've had just in the corporate world, it's been really, really difficult. So that sense of inner purpose and that fire, that means that you want to keep going. It means on the days that you don't have energy, you let yourself rest, but then you reset and you go again. And that inner purpose is that just continual energy. It's like an ever-ready bunny within you. It's almost like the vision that you have for what you know that you can do in your role. It just outstrips the office politics or the banter or the boys network, because you're like, I'm heart-led here. This is something that's really important to me. I can see I'm making an impact. I can see that I'm making a difference. And so many of the women that I work with are purpose-led. So number 4 is inner purpose and resilience. And then number 5 is something that someone suggested this morning, which actually I've just really loved, that I thought I'd share. It's just that attention to being able to see all different perspectives. So that comes from that empathy, that comes from that vulnerability, it comes from that passion, it comes from that very feeling place. And that being able to see things from a different, a kind of almost holistic view of everything and a different perspective. And that idea of that learning and that willingness to be wrong and to grow. And you see all those different perspectives and you bring those into your decision making. So you're not alienating anyone, you're not leaving anyone behind, but you're allowing for their different perspectives and you're bringing that in. And just that real ability to have that attention to detail of how's this going to impact on different areas. It's not just steamrolling something in for the sake of it. It's not just blindly implementing something that's not going to work, but that ability to see all the different perspectives and then bring them on board is absolutely huge. So I would love to know what you think, but those are what I think are the 5 superpowers of female leaders. So let's just remind yourself. Let's just do a quick reminder. So it's empathy and compassion. There's intuition, yet a willingness to learn. There's vulnerability and sensitivity. There's that inner purpose and resilience. And then there's that ability to see everything from all perspectives. So I would love to know what you think, though. I would love you to pop in the comments if there's been anything else that you would add to the list. And what do you think are those real positives of female leaders? What are those inherent superpowers? What are the things that make them really stand out? So pop it in the comments. And these are sort of things I'm going to be talking about on the podcast. So if you're interested in being one of my first listeners, I'm going to be releasing a couple of episodes out early. And if you want to be one of those, I would love you to drop me a message and let me know. And I will be back on Wednesday with a brilliant guest and good friend of mine to talk about this very issue. So any comments, any feedback, let me know. And I will see you at 12:30 on Wednesday. Have a good day. Bye.